The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, depending on your current time zone. We are excited about your audience on this webinar and sincerely thank you for taking time to participate in this event. This webinar is titled Influencing Farmer Behavior Change, Relevant Lessons for the New Normal. And it is being brought to you by Farmerline in collaboration with AGRA, the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa. Despite farmers' importance in feeding populations and their massive contributions to the economy, research across farming communities, especially in developing regions, points to rather low levels of formal education, literacy, and financial literacy, contributing some impediments to farmers adopting the right practices for and sustainable farming systems. Across the industry, numerous training initiatives have been instituted by governments, the public sector, private sector, NGOs, to equip farmers with skills to improve productivity and profits and enable farming in a sustainable manner. However, we still see significant gaps in farmer livelihoods, yields, and productivity. Of course, the COVID-19 global pandemic has also introduced an additional layer of complexity, which is affecting the effectiveness and efficiency of farmer training programs. So hence the million-dollar question: how do we continue to influence farmer behavior change? And I'm happy to announce that we are joined today by experts from the public sector, from the private sector, and development practitioners who are going to share with us some very interesting yet relevant lessons for the new normal. This is going to be an hour-long session, and speakers will be sharing lessons and best practices with us. We know listeners have engaged with farmers in the space and have useful information to share. Therefore, we invite you to use the chat box to share your experiences with all of us on this webinar. We also invite you to use the question box to submit any questions you might have, and we will attend to them during the question and answer session. And to facilitate this, we kindly ask that you indicate the speaker to whom you are directing your questions. My name is Regina Richardson, and I work with the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA, as a seed and extension systems specialist. And I am honored to be your moderator today. So we are going to be here from a number of experts. So from Farmerline, we have Ms. Lily Akofa Keledome, and she's the head of farmer engagement based in Ghana. From AGRA, we have Dr. Referral Madakadze. She is a senior program officer, extension and capacity building based in Kenya. We have Mr. Paul Siame, and he's the director of the Directorate of Agricultural Extension Services of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture in Ghana. We also have Mr. Benjamin Fiafo. He is the country representative for Farm Radio International, Ghana. And finally, we have Mr. Maxwell Olupot. Max is in charge of partnerships, planning, and learning at the African Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services, AFAS, and he's based in Uganda. So this webinar is brought to you by Farmerline in collaboration with AGRA, influencing farmer behavior change, relevant lessons for the new normal. So without further ado, I would like to invite our keynote speaker for today, Ms. Lily Akofa Keledome, to set the ball rolling. Lily is the head of farmer and partner engagement at Farmerline Limited, and she's responsible for strategic planning of Farmerline services to farmers, farmer acquisition, education, and monitoring the impact of services. Through her rich experience in digital extension, Lily has trained more than 20,000 small-scale farmers to adopt and benefit from Farmerline's voice messaging technology. Lily led the research to mediums that influence behavior change. I'm making a presentation on impactful farmer education models, a lean data study. Kindly remember to use the question and chat box as required. So Lily, you are welcome to kindly share your experiences with your virtual audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Regina, and thank you to everyone for joining. I'm Lily, and I'm here to present on impactful farmer education models, a lean data study that was conducted last year, 2019, towards the end of the year. I believe that we'll all agree that in these times of COVID-19, would appreciate that the role of farmers in sustaining us is very important, and also in supporting them to be able to do the work that they do is also very important. However, they have a number of challenges, unique challenges that face them, and also in their efforts to have access to information. Therefore, with regards to gaps that challenge farmers, mainly looking at the knowledge, access to knowledge, realize that in Ghana, for instance, the literacy level in Ghana is very low at 47.4%. And for farmers who reside in rural areas, it's relatively also very low, that is 37.7%. This means that farmers will not be able to have access to information and read and understand information that would help them to increase their yields and then make better profits to help them and their families. Also, with regards to innovations and strategies that have been put in place for them to have access to relevant information, governments and other stakeholders have put in place field agents to provide these farmers with the relevant information that they need. However, data shows that the extension officer to farmer ratios are very high. That is, one officer is responsible for over 1,800 farmers. That means that there's very little contact time, and that the information that the farmers will need at the relevant times may not come in when they need it, so that they can apply it and then see the changes in their livelihoods and in their farm operations. However, when you compare this to the World Bank recommendation of one extension officer to 500 farmers, you realize that it means that there's more need for farmers to receive continuous information to help them to take actions. With time, we have seen that conventional methods have been used over and over again to train farmers, such as in-person training, farmer field schools, farmer business schools. These approaches have been very good in transferring knowledge to farmers, and it's also a platform where farmers can build trust in their facilitators. However, data has also shown to us that this model seems to be a little bit expensive as compared to possible emerging technologies, and also they seem not to be so scalable because of the investment that comes with it. You need to invest in logistics and getting agents to also be able to run these trainings. And also, because of the pluralistic approach that comes with it, it's sometimes quite difficult to track individual progress of the farmers to know that they are actually implementing what they have been taught. Therefore, we set out last year, towards the end of the year, to be able to understand which farmer training model would increase adoption amongst the farmers and also be cost effective and also scalable, which is very important when you're in the development sector. So for this lean data study, it was conducted for 9 weeks, and our assumption was that a combination of multiple training models would have an impact in farmer behavior. So we had 5 different series of training models that we tested, and during that time, we delivered training to farmers purposely on post-harvest training because it was during the harvesting time. So farmers received training on budgeting, saving, reinvesting their capital, and then bookkeeping. So we worked with 114 farmers who are located in 5 different districts in the Ashanti region. The models that we tested were 5, and the first one was in-person training only, and that involved having a facilitator train the farmers in a workshop, and the farmers have the opportunity to ask questions, and then also, yes, they give feedback to the farmers. In the second model, which is for group 2, we had in-person training with a facilitator and also voice messages. So these voice messages were pre-recorded messages, a summary of the content that was delivered to the people in the in-person training, a summary of that recorded in their local languages and sent to them on their phones. For the third group, they also received in-person training, and then we were later given a training, a talking book, which is a device like a radio with pre-recorded messages in the local languages for the farmers to listen to. For the fourth group, they also received voice messages only with some phone call support. The fifth group had a combination of 3 of the models, which is in-person training, voice messages, and follow-up calls. So some of the findings we saw at the end of the study was that 58% of the farmers implemented the practices that we taught them. And generally, comparing the time frame of the study, we believe that this is something that is a bit encouraging. Also, amongst all the models that were tested, you realize that the models that were blended saw a little lower adoption rates, which means that it is very important for in-person trainings and other models to accompany continuous follow-up. Also, it gives us the impression that having blended models really helps for uptake because farmers keep hearing the message over and over again. So they get the understanding better, and then they are encouraged to also implement what you have taught them, the practices. With this particular study, there are 2 main things that we realized the farmers found difficult to implement. Also, considering the short time of the study, that is bookkeeping and then savings. So we encourage the farmers that once every activity they undertake on their farm, they should make sure that they write this and then take that to practice. Also, we realized that 45% of the farmers that were trained were able to make some form of savings, which was between $18 to $842. With regards to cost effectiveness of the various models, interestingly, the in-person training only stood out as the least expensive. Particular analysis didn't include personnel costs. It's mainly covered transportation, content development, airtime, and then device costs. For the in-person training as well, we did not invest in refreshing the farmers after the training. However, when we look at the other models, the in-person training plus the talking book seem to be a little expensive as compared to the others because the device had to be acquired in the first place. But we see that in the long term, the cost would be minimal and the farmers would use this for a while. With regards to scalability of these models, we realized the voice message and phone call support was the most scalable. This is because the voice message operates on a technology that doesn't need a lot of support. It can be easily replicated anywhere. The messages can be personalized and can reach many more farmers within a short time. A few lessons that we want to share based on the specific models is that for in-person training, we realized that about 92% of the farmers expressed interest as they saw that to be an opportunity to interact with their farmers and with the trainers. They could also ask as many questions as they wanted. It was also a good platform for them to practically see some illustrations, for them to understand the content better, and then also have some practical exercises. And this helps with adoption as they are able to understand things right from the beginning. One of the challenges with in-person training is about the timeliness of the trainings. Farmers need to receive the information just before they implement it. Also, you realize that if you want to deliver training on post-harvest management or business management, financial literacy, this happens around the times that the farmers are very busy on the farm, either harvesting or doing some processing activities. So you realize that timeliness affects the in-person training aspect. And also we realized you could also find good ways to reduce costs when it comes to your in-person trainings. With talking books, it was very, very useful, especially in areas where there's limited network connectivity, because the farmers have access to this device at any time and they could listen to it. And it's very good for sustainability programs where you want the farmers to take action. So once they have access to this device, they can always listen to the messages. It is also good for farmers who do not have access to phones at all. With voice messages, we realize that it goes really well with in-person training. That means that it helps with reinforcing the messages so that the farmers can take action after the in-person training has been organized. Also, this particular model is good when the season is very busy for the farmers and they may not be available to participate in trainings. All you have to do is send your reinforcements, and this helps to continuously engage the farmers and make sure that they are taking to practice what you have for them. So for the way forward, we see that through this research, it's evident to us that a blend of in-person training and digital tools will have a big role to play in driving the adoption of farming practices amongst farmers and could be cost-effective and scalable. Therefore, we see that for the next steps, it would be very good to reiterate this study to understand more how this would span if we increase the number of farmers or the number of models that we tested, and to also see from farmers that are from different geographies. We also realized that technology would play a very key role in the next steps that we'd want to take. And it will be very important to have impactful partnerships that are interested, or partners who are interested to scale the study that we have done. We are really looking forward to seeing and having more of such collaboration so that we can send this impact to more farmers. And then also working through the field agents, the network of agents that we have, call center agents, extension officers across the country. Finally, I would also want to add that for the next step, it will be very important in these times of COVID when we cannot make ourselves available on the field every time, to have systems to be able to support the farmers, like the farmer helpline, like a workshop monitoring system on the app that agents can use to manage their workshops and track the performance of farmers in terms of understanding the content or the trainings they have received and being able to practice them, and to also coach the farmers on a one-on-one basis by visiting them on the farms to be able to see the things that they have learned being implemented in real time. So to sum it all up, I'd want to reiterate that the blended approach of training farmers is something that we should look at more, because increasing the engagement levels of farmers helps them to adopt the practices that we teach them. And in these times of COVID, digital tools will come in to play very significant tools in changing the behaviors of farmers for positive increase in their yield and profit. And also to organizations who are looking forward to use these digital tools, my advice to you is that you should consider the content, the training content, and your program's objectives to be able to select the ideal digital tools to use. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lily, for that insightful presentation. Indeed, technology will play a key role in farmer support going forward, and we need to put systems in place to ensure that we can continue to support the farmers, even remotely. So our next presenter is Mr. Paul Siame. Mr. Siame is the director at the Directorate of Agriculture Extension Services of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture in Ghana. And Paul has worked in rural advisory and agricultural extension services since 1996. Throughout his career, he has been responsible for developing training and extension programs for farmer-based organizations. He has managed agricultural development units and coordinated capacity building interventions for agricultural experts across Ghana. I would like to invite Paul to share with us how the ministry is complementing traditional extension approaches using digital and ICT platforms for agricultural extension delivery amid COVID-19 in Ghana. So Paul, the platform is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. Like our keynote speaker said, the onset of COVID-19 has exposed us or has opened a wide window of opportunities in reaching out to farmers, and I would like to share, as a Minister of Food and Agriculture, Ghana, I would like to share some of the lessons on how we managed to cope with the situation during the peak of the pandemic, and even currently, as well as our plans for managing using digital platforms to complement the traditional physical farmer extension agent interface. So we explore other opportunities during the period. In fact, what I'm going to share with you is centered around the background to our situation, and then show you how traditional. I saw some of the pictures from Lily, the traditional ways of reaching out to our farmers, gathering, interacting physically with them, and then how COVID will not allow that because of certain challenges with respect to containment measures by government and ourselves. And then the shift now to focus on ICT, what we have learned, how are we faring, as well as the cost implications if we want to move on that tandem. A major challenge that the Ministry of Food and Agriculture faces, especially the Directorate of Agriculture Extension Services, where we are responsible for overseeing agricultural technology dissemination through the management of extension system, is that of dwindling staff numbers occasioned by retirements, death, search for greener pastures without replacement to the ministry. So, but luckily for us as a ministry, we had the opportunity of getting a one-off recruitment, a single recruitment of 2,700 extension agents, and we're luckily this was further complemented by the engagement with some private sector extension providers with support from AGRA in the use of community-based advisors to support our extension agents. Unfortunately, the onset of COVID nearly defeated this huge increase in the number of extension agents, which we thought was going to help improve outreach. And therefore, we were then faced with the need to explore and search as other alternatives. And readily, what came to mind was that of the use of digital platforms to improve extension outreach. Now, as Lily showed, typically this is what we do. We have an extension agent or a community-based advisor gathering extension farmers and then taking them through. We have physical interaction where questions, clarifications are sought from the agricultural extension agent. But we could not continue with this. As you can see in the pictures, we could not continue at the peak of the pandemic because of the COVID-19 containment measures instituted by government. So we needed to explore other tools that will minimize the use of this. Already, the obvious thing we did initially was to reduce the number of farmers per session, but the obvious cost implications are known. Definitely, if you have to meet a group of 30 farmers, you now have to split into 2 15-15, and that also comes with a cost. So we therefore decided to explore those opportunities. We were using them, but not on the scale with which, when the pandemic came, we had to use, like the use of radio. It became a major tool we felt could be used. We use it extensively through jingles and discussion sessions, as well as the mobile phone that Lily talked about. We also depended on the mobile phones to get the message to our farmers through IVR calls and other messages that we do to coincide with the teachable moments of our farmers. We also fell on the use of television as another means. It's a popular means of reaching out to farmers, to Ghanaians when it comes to social issues. We're not using it extensively for agricultural technology dissemination, but we had to fall on it because we could not meet our farmers one-on-one as much as we desired. So the directorate, or the ministry, had an arrangement with a number of television stations. You can see one of them where every week we showcase or teach our farmers or those who can access the television on the agronomy of the various or emerging issues that come up. We also actively use the audiovisual or information vans that we have dotted in the 16 regions of Ghana, as well as those that are with us at the headquarters. Now, where the opportunity provides for us to have interaction with our farmers, we want to minimize physical contact. So we also fell on the digital classroom system, a small, powerful computer with a pumped up 6-hour power bank and a solar charger. With this as seen here, you set it up, you use video, other material, audio and video on trainings and other agricultural information, and then we share. You can see one here where the extension agent is training a master trainer is training colleague extension agent using the digital classroom system. I want to say that when there was limited restriction on movement in certain parts of the country, we could not do so for our farmers because eating or food consumption cannot wait until the pandemic was over. So we needed to use these things, and I can say that our farmers did not suffer so much with respect to the restriction because government made provision for it. The agricultural supply chain was not affected, and then the only thing is ensuring social distancing on their farms, and then which we use the radio as well as other material to get the information to them. So planting date where they can get the access to our flagship program inputs, planting for food and job. We use the radio, television, and other media to send such messages to our farmers. And therefore, whilst there was some limited restriction or inconvenience, it wasn't felt the way other sectors of the economy felt because of the adoption of this ICT-enabled technologies. We also use community information centers. They are dotted all over our places where they link up with selected radio stations, or sometimes even people are hosted in these community information centers, and then agricultural technical knowledge are then shared. We also took advantage of the presence of the Farm Radio International in Ghana, leveraging their expertise to identify and select local radio stations. In fact, as we speak now, we have 168 community radio stations that, through the support from Farm Radio Ghana, we have been able to have a number of educational programs on agriculture through these radio stations. Now, on sustainability, in fact, on sustainability of all these things, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture see the potential or the capacity of Farm Radio International has commissioned them to assist us develop a digital agricultural advisory services strategy and plan for the ministry, which will provide a means of linking various ICT, agriculture, and digital advisory services together to provide more comprehensive support to our farmers and other actors along the various agricultural commodity value chains. We have also seen that there's a need to have strong partnership with the private sector so that we can take advantage of that. And we have Farmerline, Farm Radio International, Hunger Project, Early Relief Services, and many others to leverage on their personnel, logistics, as well as technical support in the use of this ICT-enabled tools and modules for extension delivery. The state or the public service alone, but we think that in combining with some of the private sector actors and experts in the area of ICT use, we have so many advantages. Their resources are made available to us, and we also have human resources made available. Well, on implications, I mean, the cost, definitely cost of going for these innovations are quite, these are things we did not plan for. We did not have the resources, but because of our partnership with some of them, Farm Radio in particular, and Farmerline, and our other rural advisory service provider, I mentioned cattle relief services and the Hunger Project. But we will need more investment in the area of e-extension tools and models. First, to build the capacity of even the extension, the public extension system in the use of these e-extension tools and models. And also we need overall, we need increased funding for extension activities. This is what we think that with this one, post COVID-19, where the situation will subside, we will still need to use this ICT options to complement the traditional methods we have been using. As the results from the study by Farmerline showed, we will need to use not only our own system, but to combine, but in an increased tempo. That is, we need to use more of these things to complement our efforts in reaching out to our farmers. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you very much, Mr. Siame, for that insightful presentation. Indeed, in these challenging times, partnership is key to enable us continue to forge forward, especially in the area of ICT use to support farmers. We are moving on, and our next presenter is Dr. Referral Madakadze. Referral is a senior program officer in the Extension and Capacity Building Unit of AGRA. She leads the capacity building work in extension systems and SMEs in Africa. Before this, she managed over 17 training programs in Africa, overseeing the training of over 1,500 PhD and MSc students and more than 1,000 people trained in short-term courses ranging from 1 to 5 weeks in the African seed sector. She's a seed scientist with a passion for working with smallholder farmers, and she'll be sharing with us experiences on influencing smallholder farmer behavior change using the community-based or village-based advisor model, AGRA's extension strategy. So even as she comes over with her presentations, kindly remember to keep your questions coming in. Referral, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to our West African colleagues. As Regina has said, can you see my screen? Yeah. I'm going to be sharing on the village-based advisor model and the agri extension strategy. The strategy that AGRA uses to control, to address some of the gaps in extension that we've even heard from Lily of the low numbers of extension agents, the inadequate training, the lack of content and systems for effective use of ICT, and inadequate extension infrastructure that Dr. Siame has talked about are critical, important to address for us to be able to actually reach farmers. So the aim of the AGRA strategy is to increase awareness among farmers and increase adoption of improved varieties and other yield enhancing technologies, and also to reduce the number of extension worker to farmer numbers to 1 to 500. That is that was talked about. The approach is quite simple. It works mainly on addressing farmer issues using methodologies and systems that they normally use in their learning. And it has 5 main components, which are identifying and training self-employed village-based advisors. We have a farmer extension needs assessment, so that whatever we do or whatever the extension system does, it's addressing an identified gap. And we use the mother-baby demonstration method. And we are, especially now with COVID, we are strengthening the ICT for agriculture. And in all these systems, we are actually working with various partners. Actually, Farmerline, MOFA, the ANGA project, all the partners that the 2 previous presenters have talked about are actually part of a group called GESIP, which is funded by AGRA to address extension systems in Ghana. As you can see, the partners that we are working with, below is SEEDCO, which is donating seeds in Nigeria to give to farmers, to sell to farmers, to give to farmers for demos, various seed companies, different governments, all kinds of things.
Hi, Referral. It seems your slides are not moving.
They're not moving.
Yeah.
Is it moving now?
Not yet.
Regina? Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, it's good now. Thank you. Yes.
All right. So a village-based advisor is basically self-employed agents. We include women and children. They rapidly create demand for yield-enhancing inputs. They practically teach farmers good agricultural practices, crop protection, post-harvest management. They aggregate produce and link farmers to markets. They keep records, ensuring that data is available. They aggregate demand for seeds and fertilizer and crop protection chemicals, and they liaise with the input companies. They also aggregate output. They may act as brokers or the aggregators of the produce. So the seed and fertilizer companies supply the inputs for demonstrations and sell at farmer level by the village-based advisor. So the VBAs generate income from selling inputs and other services. Many of them are actually graduating into agro dealers, aggregators of produce, and some just provide services that include threshing, milling, grinding, crop protection services, all those. And on the side here, we have in VBAs in Mozambique that are preparing for the rainy season, and they have small seed packs to go share with the farmers and the bigger packs to go plant the mother demos. And below is a VBA who has been given seeds by 3 different seed companies to go and sell. The deal is that they are given 200 kilograms of seed. They go and sell. In 3 weeks, they come back, give the money and get their commission and collect some more seeds. So the VBAs, as I said, they're farmers. They're selected from farmer groups. They must be personable. They must have a little bit of education because they take the records. They must be good communicators. They must be passionate about agriculture. They must be honest and respected, and they must be willing to share knowledge and information with other farmers. And below a few pictures. This one, I don't know if you can see my mouse, is a farmer in Mozambique who just for the first time grew a hybrid seed from SEEDCO, and is very excited about the improvement. This is the red one. The person is one of my favorite VBAs. First season, he demonstrated. The next season, all the farmers in his community in Nyamajiwa in Mozambique, they actually went and bought seed. The ones who didn't have enough money were buying 1 grape, 1 kg. They went and all bought seeds and planted. So this thing is working. The farmers are excited about that. And this one in the corner here is a sales agent for Seedco in Nigeria. So they are actually getting to do a lot of other things, and they are influencing farmers. So the VBS, as I said, are farmers, so they must be trained. So they are trained by both public and private sector extension workers on all aspects of agriculture, usually focusing on clear messages that they can demonstrate to farmers. The training must be easy, must be participatory, and must be practical, bearing in mind the literacy levels of the farmers we are talking about in some areas. And each VBA teaches up to 300 farmers in 2 to 3 years. They are given oversight by public sector extension workers who are trained agricultural scientists. And each VBA conducts a mother demo within an accessible area of the farmers that provides a focal point for training farmers, and they teach other farmers how to conduct and to develop their own baby demos. So we actually train the implementing partners, train what our core is, train farmers. But even when they are trained, the VBAs, they still have access to information from the public and private sector extension workers, and they are linked to seed companies, fertilizer companies, off-takers within their nearest locations. So this is just a picture of, this is just how a mother demo looks like. It is fairly small, 0.25 of an acre. They can demonstrate on that about 3 to 4 varieties, different technologies, fertilizer use, whatever things we are trying to demonstrate. The baby demos are planted 5 by 5 meters, usually with about 50 grams of seed. So each farmer actually learns to do. So how it looks, in each village you have the mother demo, and on top of the mother demo you have multiple little demos from the farmers. So the farmers everywhere they go, they are seeing little demos from the technologies that are being demonstrated. This is an example of a baby demo of rice in Nigeria. This variety, Faro 59, was demonstrated for the first time in 2018. It matures fast, it is very high yielding. It's way better than the Faro 44 that they were using in that area. And the very next season, all the seed companies in Kaduna in Nigeria ran out of the Faro 59. That's how quickly the farmers adopt. They plant it in their field, they see that it works. The next time they are going to bug the VBA to say, where do we get the seed? And they get the seed. And that's how the farmers, the seed companies ran out of seed in Nigeria. These are mother baby demos for soybean in Mozambique. You can see the farmers are excited. The VBAs are excited. They are doing a great job. And even if you're a farmer, you pass through a demo like this, this is something you would want to emulate.
Referral, your presentation is stuck again. And in the meantime, we're running out of time.
Okay. Is it moving now? No?
Yeah, but I think we'll share it with all listeners after, so you can go ahead and wrap up. Thank you.
I'll just finish off. Okay. So we are also reinforcing the physical training. It's been quite difficult doing the physical training because of COVID. So the VBAs have to work double because they are working with smaller groups of farmers. They are being COVID compliant, and they are actually making sure that the farmers they work with are also learning about how to prevent COVID transmission. So we are reinforcing this with ICT for Ag, the phone messages, relevant technical information through smartphones, videos with relevant content for teaching farmers on key interventions, and at farmer levels, bulk SMS SMSs for VBAs to farmers. And at national levels, we have things like the National Farmer Helpline and Farm Radio International. This one is just how the system works, showing an example of for region, where in each district, the teams work with about 8 or so agriculture extension agents, and each extension agent works with 10 VBAs, and each VBA works with 150 farmers. So you can see it's very easy to reach a lot of farmers within one season. So the farmer training by VBAs has yielded great results. AGRA has funded the training of about 33,000 VBAs in 9 countries, and these VBAs have reached 8.96 million farmers with improved technologies, and they have actually adopted 76% of the farmers have adopted some of these technologies. And we are actually having, is it moving again? We are actually having significant yields. We are actually having significant increases in yields, almost doubling maize, soybean, and rice yields in Nigeria. So what are some of the success factors resulting in farmer behavior change? Are mainly from the practical training from the farmers that they know. The VBAs, they are learning by doing. The small packs are a catalyst for change that enable farmers to experiment with their own farms with little risks, and they're learning different critical things to do at the right stages of growth and marketing. And there are significant training of VBAs, technical aspects, on all technical aspects, and not only that, and also on how to train other farmers. And this is reinforced messages through the phones, through the radios, and we have farm radio on the call today. So this is all coming together well to actually talk about what Lily has talked about blended, making sure there are several methods of training farmers. And we don't only end there, we actually ensure that there is last mile access to inputs and output markets that the farmers can actually benefit from. So training of farmers by VBAs is effective, and we have seen it work in all the countries we are working in. All the farmers that have received small packs, over 87% of them have used the small packs on their farm and gone back to the VBA to look for the seeds. Thank you very much for your attention. Tatenda Nyabonga, Asande Nagode, and Meda Aseti. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the very informative presentation, Referral. We want to quickly move on to our next presenter, who is Mr. Benjamin Fiafo. Benjamin is the Farm Radio International country rep for Ghana, and he has additional responsibility for Anglophone West Africa. In the past 13 years at Farm Radio International, Benjamin has implemented numerous communication for development projects, focusing on improving livelihoods and food security. He is a multifaceted development expert with skills in program development. He will be speaking with us today on influencing smallholder farmer behavior change through interactive radio. Benjamin, your virtual audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, good afternoon to our cherished listeners. And as it is, farm radio had been mentioned so many times, so I won't take much time in talking more about it, but I just want to say that as part of our work, we partner with public, as mentioned by Paul, private sector partners, and then also CSOs and other stakeholders to make sustained and abundant investment in powerful rural radio. We do this through the building of the capacity of radio stations to enable them to produce and broadcast good content that make powerful and radio programs. We believe that with this, when the radio stations are equipped with the right equipment, very simple recorder, laptops, and some software, they are able to broadcast, sustain powerful rural radio services. Our work also involves producing radio resources that allow radio stations across Africa. Within this COVID period, we ensure that all the resources that a radio presenter needs to use during the course of a radio program is available. We also ensure that we continuously identify innovative ways of making radio program more and more interactive, and also ensuring that we also support in doing impactful program with other partners. My third slide, that is the role of interactive radio. We believe that radio, as we all know, goes beyond just information sharing. I know during the fall armyworm, locust, and other period, the COVID period, we use radio to share information. But beyond this, radio also creates awareness about new things that farmers need to know. And also beyond awareness creation, we also use radio to ensure that as many people get the knowledge that they need, especially our farmers within the rural areas where it may be difficult for them to have access to network, or it may be difficult for them for somebody to travel to them. We use this radio to ensure that they get the knowledge needed to enable them improve upon their livelihood and health-related issues. My fifth slide, how do we do this? We believe that all our farmers require reinforcing that are being used. For example, a face-to-face will go there once, but a radio program weekly that at the beginning of the farming season, farmers know what to cultivate and all that. And this works very well using the interactive radio. And this works because the radio allows for dialogue and informed decision making. When we use interactive radio, we are looking at enabling the listeners to be part of the radio program from the beginning to the end. So we involve them during the formative research, where we take, when they want to listen to the radio program, what are their knowledge before the program and all that. And then during the design of the program, we also make sure we use our voice standard to enable them to participate as active listeners during the course of the program. And most importantly, we ensure that for anything that we call interactive program must give voice to the farmers. So we use the voices of the farmers to also share knowledge with other farmers. And for us, our interactive radio also allow us to facilitate interaction between other actors within the value chain, like the seed producers, the agro input producers. We allow for this to happen. And all this leads to technology transfer, which happens at the farmer level, and also adoption of new technologies, and finally results in behavior change. Next slide. We believe that the radio works if you use the right radio program approach. and different types of radio approaches that I just want to have what can take you through 4 stages of radio programming, and listeners are able to, first of all, identify the problem with you, and then accept that there are solutions, and then I am select the solution that is appropriate for them, and then together they learn how to implement behavior. That's what we call her voice on air. We know that technology can leave women behind, but how can we ensure that radio does not do this? We ensure that, one, we train the radio stations to enable them to know how to do gender responsive program, and also we ensure that we have women groups that are available to participate, ask questions, interact during the course of the radio program, to ensure that the lessons that are coming out is not just focus on men, but also getting the women. We also have what we call the cooking show that allow us to introduce nutritious commodities, like, for example, the orange flesh sweet potato to farmers through cooking shows on radio. And also, we also use the radio marketplace to ensure that value chain radio programming to production. This helps them to know what to produce, when to produce, what are the marketing requirements and all that. And we also use the listening post to ensure that our listeners are able to give us the right information that will help in the form of monitoring and evaluating what is already going on the ground. Next slide. Radio's role in connecting digital services. We believe that within this period, it has come out very clear that no single intervention will be very successful, but when you combine other interventions, it allows the success that we expect to take place. Integration space where the technologies also works well with radio, because when you talk about, for example, weather information and where the weather information can be accessed, any other digital to how they can be accessed, you will be able to drive demand for all these SMS services or other services that had been mentioned. And radio also give room for video, SMS, and any other technology. And for the reach, I think that that is one of the things that the radio had done very well within this period. Within this period, we bringing different technologies together, and radio allows this to happen. Interactive radio programs are not just for awareness creation, they can also motivate and support behavior change. And finally, the interactive radio can strengthen also face-to-face advisory services, because it allows for more in-depth discussion after the training or the face-to-face had ended. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for that informative presentation, Benjamin. So keep your questions coming in the questions box. We will now move on straight to hear from Mr. Maxwell Olupot, our final presenter for today. Maxwell currently works as Partnerships Planning and Learning Specialist at the African Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services, AFA Secretariat in Kampala. He is also the Eastern Africa Field Schools Hub Coordinator, and he has passion for agricultural extension and rural development and experience in participatory processes from the initial Farmer First concept. He has good appreciation and experience of participatory methodologies and tools, innovative approaches in agricultural development, including establishing and strengthening multi-stakeholder partnerships and collaborations. Max will be sharing his experiences on influencing farmer behavior change. So Max, we are all ears. Kindly take us home. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina. And I just confirm that the slides are with you or with me. Are you seeing them? I need to share my screen. What happened? Can you see the slides? I can't see them myself.
No, we can't see. Frank, if you have the slides, or Leila, kindly support with the presentation. Leila, if you have the slides, kindly help us to project. Thank you.
There we go. Regina, can we go?
Yes, please, kindly go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you to everybody for the participation. As already introduced, my name is Max Olupot from the AFAS, that is the African Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services. My presentation is going to be more focused to one of the approaches that I love. That will be the Farmer Field School. But before doing that, let me introduce to you AFAS as the African Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services, a continental body. Our mandate is given by the African Union, and our focus is mainly about strengthening knowledge management and capacities in terms of extension and advisory services, and also ensuring that we are able to scale out technologies and innovations. That means not only just one approach, but any working approach that we see and that we validate. Also, we do the advancement of agriculture extension and advisory services in Africa through a number of partnerships, and AGRA is one of our partners, and already mentioned. Also, we are glad to be in the same panel today. Just to, in context of this, you know, research and extension are still having a challenge to deliver. Many African farmers are yearning for our services and to make sure that agriculture responds to the voices. But we have that potential. Therefore, what do we need to do? We need to adapt and also to evolve, meaning we get out of our own cocoons and to embrace the blending approaches through different capacities, linkages, using our institutions, using the policies which are available, different tools, and also responding to disruptions and other calamities like now the COVID-19, which has affected all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, that means we need collective action in terms of empowering the communities and turning knowledge into innovation, into enterprises, but again, making sure that we have the voice to impact in terms of getting the investment to agriculture. And we are glad that AGRA is doing this kind of voice, which is helping the farmers to do what they can, but also the extension fraternity and research. I want to present to you briefly about the field school, which most of you are familiar with. This approach is tested. It has been there for over now 30 years from its inception. And most organizations have used field schools, but most importantly, field schools form decision-making by farmers. It uses critical analysis, and most important principle is experimentation. The farmers learn by doing. There is informal education, therefore empowerment. But above all, again, is the issue of adaptation based on the local context. And when we're talking about the farmer behavior, I think the adaptation is what really drives the processes. Adaptation by both the rural practitioners, the farmers, and all other actors who are supporting the farmer community. If you can't adapt, then therefore even your behavior cannot be able to respond to the issues like the COVID now. Now, to move forward, how did the field school adapt? For example, normally, field school approach is used to coming together, learning together, jubilating together. It builds the social capital. Right from the time they will choose a seed and crop production, soil fertility, risk management, farming as a business, markets and marketing, and those days, farmer field schools were seen as production oriented. We have moved from that to looking at farmer field school, making things happen through the value chain, issues of marketing, issues of building resilience of the community itself, food nutrition, incomes, and others. So this was how field schools operated. However, during the time of COVID, some of these were not possible. So what were the challenges? First of all, in the period of COVID, you found there was misinformation, there were misbeliefs about COVID itself, and this disrupted the way people were working. Also, the mindset of the stakeholders. Some people wanted to do things as they wanted. The farmers wanted to do the things as they had done, but this was not possible. Access to farmers was also a problem. Therefore, also there was need to see that we had a compromise of the core field school principles. Normally we say learning by doing, experiential learning. But during this time, the social distancing, the access was limited. Therefore, there was an opportunity there was also a challenge in terms of the capacity of extension workers in use of the tools. And this also goes to the farmers in the context of ICT divide. Although the ICT is a very good tool and many people are using it, but there are communities that are not able to do this. So how do we bring them on board? So during this time, it was a period, a testing period for us to see how ICT reaches to the local person. Of course, the SOPs by the ministries of health, the restrictions in travels, and also we saw the reduction in funding abruptly from what it used to be because of the orientation to health services, and this also had a disruption in terms of the work. Now, having said that, normally the field school will always insist and we want to meet, but this was not possible, therefore imposing a challenge. What models did we use therefore? The partnerships, as already mentioned by most of our colleagues, was critical, where we had to use community-based organizations, NGOs, the documents. And for example, trainers, the extension workers, of course, the media, the radio definitely was a clear mechanism, a clear tool to reach most of the farmers. And the master trainers would use the radio, and then the radio could be used for reaching a number of farmers. Then online engagement, what? So that is how.
Max, we're running out of time, so please round up.
Thank you. So the general outcomes, of course, a lot of things, but positive and also negative. But to round this up, I want to mention as a summary that we need to encourage engagement with the farmers at the center of everything, but also coordinate our efforts, but continue to adapt the situations as they come in. And for extension, we value pluralistic extension with the blended approaches and tools, and putting us at the center. Things ran and will continue to run in order to change the behavior of the farmer. Thank you so very much for listening, but also thank you very much to AGRA and the partners for giving this networking space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maxwell. And we sincerely want to apologize to audience. It seems we have gone over time. We sincerely apologize, and we will be rounding up shortly. Even as we're gradually inching towards the end of the webinar, we would want to just share 2 or so questions from the chat box and allow presenters to make their interventions. And I humbly request that you make your intervention very brief. So this question goes to Lily Akofa-Keledome of Farmerline. I've seen you've made an intervention, but if you could kindly just expatiate for the benefit of all audience. So there's someone asking, how exactly did you measure behavior change among farmers from the different tools that you made in your presentation? Very briefly, thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. So briefly, we used the participatory performance tracker to understand the adoption rates of the farmers. So we didn't seek to measure the behavior change because it's something that happens with time. Since this is the first study, is going to be used as our baseline for subsequent studies.
Thank you very much for that. We also have a comment from a listener. I think he or she is making an intervention. He or she is saying that irrespective of which methods or tools that we use, we should train for education and train for performance, but instead we should focus on knowledge transfer. So we should not necessarily see training as a replacement for education. And for knowledge.
Sorry, the line got broken, so I didn't hear the question. Well, sorry, we don't have time to. But what was the question briefly?
Briefly, so there's a comment that we should not necessarily see training as a replacement for education, but we should focus on knowledge transfer. So if you could quickly just comment on that.
Well noted. Training and education definitely a thin line between them. So I would say that the comments is well noted, and we work towards ensuring that if we are providing training, it is training. If we are educating for permanent change in behavior, we will do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to throw this question to Mr. Benjamin Fiafo of Farm Radio International. I think using the interactive radio services in the local, in the rural areas, or you know, in the various regions, you're able to reach a whole number of actors, and not only actors involved in agriculture. And so the listener wants to know if you have seen any effective delivery of other services alongside agricultural extension services. Talk about healthcare, talk about financial services, seen any alongside agricultural extension. So Benjamin, over to you.
Thank you very much. I would say that yes, there are other areas that radio had performed very well. Healthcare is one, nutrition is another one, and then also the financial literacy is also something that radio had helped, because it also requires a gradual behavioral change programming, not just awareness creation, but the gradual behavioral change programming. And I believe that the interactive radio works in these areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin. I want us to take one final question, and I'd want to throw this back to Farmerline. So Lily, your question: are you facing any funding challenges regarding the development of ICT tools and apps, etc.? Are you facing any funding challenges regarding the development of ICT tools or apps, etc.? Thank you.
Yes, could you please come again? I think I had challenges.
Yeah, so the question is, are you facing any funding challenges regarding development of ICT tools and applications? Thank you.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. So for funding, yes, I wouldn't say it's a challenge. It needs to be done with some form of collaboration. So in terms of funding, I would say that it's not just in terms of financial support, both financial and in terms of personnel, in terms of skills, and in terms of collaboration, to be able to also explore more of these ICT tools, because for in the era that we find ourselves, technology is very expensive, and so yes, we have some challenges, and we are looking for more funding and partnerships as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So all too soon, listeners, we have come to the end of today's webinar, and I'm sure you will all agree with me that we have had a very informative and exciting session today. Before we draw the curtain down, we have the head of extension and capacity building at AGRA, Dr. Paul Seward, and he would want to, on behalf of the organizers, notably Farmerline and AGRA, on behalf of all the speakers, the panelists, he would want to share brief closing remarks with us all. So Dr. Seward, if you're online, kindly unmute and give us your brief closing remarks.
Thank you, Regina. Regina, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I think this has been a fantastic webinar. I would like to thank all the presenters from all the organization and my colleagues. You're all my colleagues, and it's really great to hear the latest developments in your extension work. So thank you very much, Paul. Paul, great to see you again. Fantastic presentation. I agree with many of your comments and your remarks. Ben from Farm Radio, Lily, Farmerline, Max, great to see you again, Max, and my colleague, of course, Referral. I think this has been a fantastic webinar. I just want to say that extension is really key to our agricultural development. We have fantastic knowledge available coming from research, and we need to make sure that this reaches all our farmers, not only within Ghana, but Africa, at scale and cost effectively. And I think many of the approaches that you have shown, you've demonstrated today and talked about are very, very relevant. And I just want to go back to Max's comment that we need a pluralistic extension with blended approaches and with farmers at the center. And I think what you're all doing is fantastic. I think we definitely need a human touch. We need ICT to extension workers. Paul, I take your comment. We need more and more investment in extension. We need more people to do extension. We need more farmer field schools. We need more CBAs, VBAs, whatever. And these ICT tools can really help to reinforce the messages and make sure that we get the behavior change in terms of improved food security, improved incomes. We're looking to change farmers' practices. We need to make sure that we get the good agronomic practices across to farmers and make sure that they adopt the yield enhancing inputs that they need. And I know if we work together and continue to work together and demonstrate the impact of what we are doing on behavior change, these are very important lessons that we can learn from you. So thank you once again. It's been great to be part of this webinar. And Regina, thank you very much for your good facilitation. And when can we have the next one?
Very soon. We'll keep all listeners in the loop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been wonderful to meet you all again. And I hope that this terrible COVID-19 will be over very soon, and we'll be able to travel and meet each other in person and learn more from face-to-face interaction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Paul Seward. And once again, thank you so much to all listeners for your time today. It is truly appreciated. We will attempt to respond to any remaining questions and share with all of you. Let's keep the conversations going. This is our new reality. It is our new normal. So let's continue to forge ahead. And most importantly, please, let's endeavor to stay safe. On behalf of Farmerline, on behalf of AGRA, on behalf of all partners, on behalf of all the presentation, all the presenters, this has been your humble moderator, Regina Richardson. I'm out. We are out. Thank you.